What's good, Choom? Welcome to another episode of Cuzzo-Op. My name is Isaiah, also known as IV, and I am one of the hosts here at Cuzzo-Op, and I am joined by my co-host, my cousin, my brother,
Willie, also known as Arrow to the Face.
And we are not alone. You are not alone. Tonight, whenever it is you're listening to this podcast, you're getting to enjoy the first episode of Cuzzo-Op with two guests, which is kind of funny because tonight's topic is a single player game. But hey, it's all good. I want to introduce return guests, the homeboy Locke and my brother Q-Dot. Say what's up to the fam, guys. Say what's up to the
going on, y'all. It's the big
good to be back.
We're glad to have you guys here, and this is something that we had in motion since last year when we thought about what we were going to do for this particular episode. Now, I won't lie, we did think, what if we did a co-op episode, which is probably still going to happen here at Cuzzo-Op, hence the name. And I was like, I got to bring Q and I got to bring Steven in for that conversation. But then when we started realizing we were getting close to an episode 77, it just felt right for us to do an episode on CyberPunk 2077. And a big thing for me was I wanted to have different perspectives that had engaged in the cyberpunk world in different ways, different capacities. So I want to start there. I want to start with setting that up. I know I didn't add that to the agenda we had, spoken of, but tell me a little bit about when it is that you played Cyberpunk for the first time before we even jump into your expectations of it so that people know where you're coming from. Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. I played the game the first day it came out on my brand new Xbox Series S. And I was able to enjoy the game much better than other players or people of the player base. Some or most of you are sitting in this room had some issues, but I enjoyed it off the bat. I think I maybe crashed like once or twice, but I didn't have like any real graphics issues or anything like that. And I honestly love the game. I mean, I sped right through it. Started playing during COVID, so there wasn't really much to do other than game. So that's really all I did. I played Cyberpunk. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's been a game that I have no problem downloading on my system whenever I feel like I need to scratch that itch. Like, I feel like I always have fun in the game. It has like GTA vibes like that, like where you can just kind of load in and just run around the city and do whatever you want. So yeah, the game was very exciting for me.
Okay, so we got Q-Dot who played it when it dropped and it was able to successfully enjoy it. How many hours do you have on the game?
87.
87 hours we've got from Q. All right. Locke, talk to me. Talk to me about your first time you picked it up and how many hours have you put into the game?
So I too picked it up in COVID. And I think I was, I was on the base PlayStation 4. Like,
yeah, like your system was talking to you the whole time you were trying to play.
Back, I had a Jet Twin Turbo in my freaking room, but listen, V12
was like, get off this one.
I'm dying.
But yeah, so I knew like certain games were gonna run a little slower on my system because as the games get better, the system gets start jetting, But anyway, I played in 2020. I too played in COVID. And it was a pretty crappy experience in terms of just like when I would crash, which was quite often. There'd be instances where like certain moments wouldn't save. And I think on that PlayStation before it crashed, I lost the hard drive and all the service or whatever. It was like 55, maybe 60 hours. When I got my new PlayStation, thanks to the bros sitting in this room. Thank you guys. And my girl, shout out Deb.
Shout out Deb.
Love you, girl. But once I got that P5,
Tell us the number.
As a
Tell us the
matter
number.
of
Tell us the
fact,
number. Tell us the number. Tell us the number. Tell us the number.
as a matter of fact, when I was in Jersey City, Terry, shout outs T, he sent me his PlayStation, his new John, his old PlayStation 4, but it was the Slim. So I got to play it more when I was in Jersey as well. When I got the P5, you know I had to jump in there because the updates had already dropped. Everything had been ironed out. And the resurgence online was huge.
Facts.
With it, like,
we'll talk
jumping
about
back
that.
into Cyberpunk, which we will get to.
Yeah.
But anyway, that I would say kind of rounded out my experience. I got to experience Phantom Liberty as well, which we'll get to, I guess, at some point. But yeah, man, it's 173 hours logged in the game right now.
So 173 is just on the P5, or is that including the 55 from the P4 gameplay?
I think that's the P4 gameplay and my P5 gameplay combined.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. You have no life. You played the game. I love that, bro.
Yeah, man, it was an escape.
Facts. We're looking at just shy of 100 hours from Q, who has played the game through when it came out. Then we've got Locke. Locke has played it through generations and has continued his playthrough. Now, Arrow, tell him, before I jump in here, tell him how much you've played of this game. Come on, give it to us. Right. Tell us, please. I'm begging you.
So, pandemic, they're like, yo, we dropping the game in December after years. How long was this? 7 years?
We're going to get into that. I promise you when I give y'all this school lesson on how early they announced this game, you're going to be like, what?
Okay. So I didn't get the game on release for reasons that I will also mention later. And then never really got around to it, to be honest with you. And then about 6 months ago in January, a friend and I were talking, and he was like, yo, you got to play it, because he loves the game. He's like, yo, you got to play it. And I'm like, I'm not going to spend $80 on a game that I don't necessarily know if I like. But thanks to PlayStation's incredibly stupid system and tier list and everything, I had access to a 5-hour trial, at which I played 4 hours of. Before my PlayStation Plus ran out. And so they are my hour logs. I have played the first 4 hours of the game. And that's been my Cyberpunk gaming experience. So I'm ready for this conversation very clearly.
Yeah.
Obviously, 100%. You're supposed to be here.
The first 4 or 5 hours of the game are pretty solid.
Are pretty
Some
they
of
are.
Yeah.
They're solid.
They're
the hooks. It's the hooks.
Parts of the game.
I'm excited
building
to talk
the story.
about. Yeah, but it also, someone offered to actually buy the game for me, but they were like, yo, you got to play it as soon as I buy it for you. And you might call it a fold, but I said, let me keep my perspective for when this talk happens, because I want to be in the seat of a listener who maybe needs some convincing to get into the game also. So
respect that.
You see, it's a Cuzzo-Op ting, baby. We think about it. It changes the way we consume in the media. You feel me? Hopefully it changes it for you too, right? Because now you got Q-Dot, who's just shy of 100, Steve, who's broken over 100, and you got Willie with just 4 hours. That's it, For me, I'm just shy of 30 hours in to the game. And, before we were actually recording, Q had my back because Locke was roasting me. He's like, yo, he got a kid. It's hard to sit there and play. The thing about this game, as we'll jump into, is that immersion is a very big aspect of how this game is fun. It's hard to immerse yourself in a game in 20, 30 minutes when you only got 20, 30 minutes to jump into a game sometimes, especially a game like this. But before we jump into that, I just wanted you to see we've got different perspectives. So if this is one of those things where you're like Arrow and you're like, should I play this game? You can get some good looks at how it is that this could feel, and how it could look down the line after you've played a decent amount of it. But let's really bring this back. Big thing here is this. Cyberpunk 2077 was announced in 2013. In 2013. The game was announced like 7 years prior to its actual release. This game was so highly acclaimed. It basically won premature awards before it was even released, even in its production. It was nominated for things just conceptually. This was one of those games that people, if you were a gamer, you knew about this game and you wanted this game very badly, especially if you're in like the throes of E3. Now, the other thing is this game is developed by CD Projekt Red. They are the ones that made the Witcher series. And in, I think it was 2015, or maybe 2016, Witcher 3 took Game of the Year. You know what I mean? These are people who are top dog contenders with Rockstar Games and Naughty Dog and Insomniac and Bungie and Activision. Like this is a name people know in gaming. So everyone was looking for Cyberpunk 2077 to slap. Then COVID, pandemic, production delays, production having to happen from home, yet publishers already putting money toward this game. So it needs to come out when it was supposed to come out, despite the pandemic. That all plays a role in the story of this game when it releases in 2020. So I want to ask that question to you now that we know your stance. What was your expectations of this game when it was dropping? Because I remember Q and I were living in the same crib at the time. I remember we all were planning to like cop the game and sit in and party and play it at the same time. Or I think we tried to do a Discord. I can't even remember. But what was your perspective toward 2020's drop? What were you looking for? How were you feeling about playing this game? Whoever wants to go first.
I was hype. I lived with you at the time. So anyone who's ever lived with Isaiah knows he stays on top of these things and he'll do it for you. So like I didn't have to stay on top with no new movies, TV shows, video games. Like he would just hit me with the knowledge like first thing, like in the morning. And I'd be like, bet. So like the aura around the game in the household was already like we're copying and we're playing that. Now it sucks because that was actually the creation of my Discord that day, and we weren't able to run it together because I think you were having issues, or Terry was having issues. A couple people were having it. I think everybody was kind of having issues, and I'm just in the cord like
yo, Q, how's yours going? I'm chilling, bro.
Yo, did you see you could customize this? Like I could be a girl but have balls, and you're all like. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm in here clicking away, and they were all salty, but it did suck I was happy that it wasn't happening to me, but around the game in general, we all wanted to play at the same time because I think that's how big it was, or how big it felt. I was also starved during that time of like any new real gaming content. I think I must have put in like 100 hours on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I was just looking for like a new RPG to play. Yeah. So when that came out, I was pretty hyped.
I'm pretty sure you went back to AC Unity at that time too, trying to get something out of it.
Yes, I was so starved that I went from Odyssey all the way back to Unity and got on and made other people get it and got online and ran that multiplayer.
Hey man,
that's crazy.
One of the top 2 Assassin's Creeds in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
facts.
You was on Valhalla too for a minute.
Yes, that whole time. Pretty much taking over my life. But Cyberpunk definitely swooped in and took the cake in terms of something fresh and new. But it was annoying that I couldn't play with everyone else.
Yeah, man, I think I was geeked. I was geeked because it had been something discussed almost every E3. Every year people are talking about like, oh, but Cyberpunk's coming out at the end of the year, so but Cyberpunk, people are dying all over the world, but Cyberpunk's coming out at the end of the year, so. And I remember like going to go grab Chinese food that night, and Fran being like, my wife being like, oh, can you go get this food? I'm like, babe, the game about to drop. Like I remember rushing to go get the food to come back as fast as I could. I was excited, bro. I was so excited for this game, just like everyone else. Twitter was on fire, and man. It was a moment. It was a moment. I felt so glad to be a gamer that night. And I think in retrospect, like when I look back, I still feel the same way. You know, I still feel the same way, even though it didn't go down the way that we thought it would. But what about you, Locke, as you were tapping in back then? What were you expecting that night?
To be honest, when I look back at the footage from like 2013 to now, because that's junior year of high school.
Yes.
Like, that's my junior year of high school. Looking back at that footage and, like, the game we have, I think for me, one, I was not that tapped. Like, I don't remember talking about Cyberpunk every year, I'll be honest. And I was playing video games. I didn't know that. I didn't know about it every year. But when I started seeing the drumming up and I started seeing all the stuff coming around 2018, 2019, leading into 2020, I was like, yo, we might really have one. And Isaiah and I, we played The Witcher. I mean, Isaiah played
It's one of my top games. One of my favorite games of all time.
He beat the dookie out of The Witcher, bro. Like, he played that game down. DLC, all of it, everything. So, for me, this was my Witcher in the sense of, like, it was, okay, Witcher was fire, but this looks like my bag. I was like, I'm really going to enjoy this. And so that first night was like, it was huge. I remember getting chicken wings because I wanted all my favorite food. I was like, I'm going to be locked in all night. So let me get my wings. Let me get the little salsa. Let me get the candy snacks on the side. I said, it's a big back night. You know what I mean? Like, I was excited, man. It was a moment. And I was hyped to get on with you guys. I was hyped to every time you talk on a party with Isaiah and we played a single player game, like, yo, bro, talking. I'm in a cutscene. Like, you're supposed to know that.
Right.
I was even excited about that. Like, I was excited to get told to shut up. I was like, that's good.
This guy is a clown, bro. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, man. It was definitely a moment. I'm telling you, bro, a moment in time, especially when we were all just there waiting. Willie, Arrow, were you even aware that night of what was going down, even if it wasn't something you were interested in diving in? What was that like?
I mean, of course, bro. I talked to you. You were just it's happening finally, you know? I mean, for me, right? Last of Us 2 had just dropped in June, and I played it, and I'm one of the lovers of The Last of Us 2. To the point where even like Ghost of Tsushima dropping 2 weeks later, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go into Ghost 2 weeks later.
And not just because, Infamous?
Not at all. Not because I don't mean, that's a whole other story.
Okay,
just
cool.
Last of Us is on my mind. Same when I was watching Attack on Titan, waiting for that finale to drop. I couldn't get into other shows. And once I watched the AOT finale, I'm like, okay. And now getting into other animes are easier. So Last of Us just had a hold on me so far after. By the time the PlayStation 5 dropped, I'm now playing Miles Morales, Valhalla dropped for Assassin's Creed, and I'm in that. So Cyberpunk's dropping, and for one, I'm not crazy about anything that I've seen because of just the things I've noticed that I liked as a gamer. And I mean, I don't know if that's a conversation for now or not in regards to gameplay for the game, but
we'll get into that.
Previous CD Projekt Red experiences with The Witcher 3, I played maybe 10 to 20 hours of that game, and by then still hadn't fully locked in. That I think that's where I was like, yo, maybe this company is just not for me, right? And so I'm not going to sit here and say I was tapped in on Cyberpunk, but I was excited to see, I'm always excited to see something that comes through for the gaming culture.
Right.
I don't play Elden Ring, but I'm excited to see what it does for the culture. As long as people aren't annoying about it.
Right.
And so for going into Cyberpunk, I didn't feel like people were annoying about it. Now, the weeks that followed, that's a different story.
Right. And let's jump into that. Let's jump into the weeks that followed and let's talk about the yuckiness of the gaming community because rightly so, man, they tore this game apart, bro. Right. Apart. Do y'all remember gaming was like we all held our breath for like 7 years and then we were all supposed to be able to exhale and we choked. We all choked on how bad this game performed on all of the last gen consoles. Every single last gen console was having blocky NPCs, blocky objectives. You couldn't complete certain objectives in the game. You couldn't progress in the game because of how bad it was crashing. Bugs out the wazoo, empty streets, cars that were crashing into things or not driving properly.
The rendering.
You weren't able to. Rendering was terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
I mean, it's rough when Sony themselves, sometimes it feels like they greedy, say, yo, if you own the game, it don't even matter if you had an issue. If you own the game, we will give you the refund, no questions asked right now.
Yep.
They don't do refunds like that.
That's facts.
So for them to drop that on Twitter, not even just a small blog post, they tweeted, yo, we'll refund you. That's from someone who's on the outside. I'm like, dang.
It's crazy.
What's going on over there right now? I need to know.
Bro, every gaming outlet had something to say. It did, right? It was crazy. We had a statement from
I never got that
excited
excited for a video game again, I'll tell you that much. So, I feel like I feel like since then I've definitely managed my expectations. So
Big facts.
I even though it went well for me, I saw how crazy a marketing and can be sometimes, and everything could look great on the surface, but at the end of the day, like some of these developers will drop a crappy project just because to serve a need. And I think that's what happened. That's like 110% what happened. And it's made me skeptical moving forward. Now, every time like one of us sends a game in, I'm just like, so I'm going to wait until I'm not even going to watch any of it. I don't even like watching gaming review videos anymore because I just feel like I have to play a game for myself. And so I feel like that had a huge effect on me. I don't know about the gaming community as a whole, but.
And that's from a dude who had a successful experience. That's what's crazy. You know, you saw CD Projekt Red make statements apologizing for rushing it out, not being truthful about how they had never really gotten that P4, last gen port ready. It was really only designed for next gen to truly see success at that moment in time. Money involved in it, publishing, wanting to be, bro, it got removed from shelves digitally. You weren't able to purchase the game. This is like the first time in my life, I think, that as a gamer, I can remember on record a game being removed from the store because it was performing so badly. You couldn't even purchase the game for like a good 5-6 months. That's crazy. That's craziness, man. What about you, Locke? Talk to me about like YouTube, Twitter. Back then it was Twitter. Like, what did it look like on there in them streets, bro?
Yo, just to set the record, his daddy named him Twitter. So I'm going to call him Twitter.
Fair. That's fair. About? Respect.
Elon Musk, get him out of here. Listen, what I'm trying to get at for my perspective was definitely like they was burning the game to the ground, point blank period. And rightfully so. Now, a lot of us was getting called broke on Twitter, YouTube, and all that. Throwing the game in the ground. It was like, oh, you just broke. Like, you don't have a PC
broke, just say that.
Yeah, if you're broke, just say that. And it was like, no, these dudes advertise that the game would be available on P4. So in my brain, like Call of Duty can do it, so why can't y'all?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think rightfully so they got their back kicked in. But for me, I was really disappointed, man, because when the hype for me got built up, it got built up. And I was invested. I loved what I was seeing. I love the fact that it was based off of a tabletop game, which was very similar to Dungeons and Dragons. And shout out to my black people, it was a black man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, this is amazing. Like, in all different facets. I was just engrossed in the lore. I was watching YouTube videos that talked about the tabletop game and the stories of the different characters. And really, it was exciting. It was fun to explore and to get hype about. And so when the game runs and it crashes and the cars don't drive right, and you got T figures when you're doing cuts.
The T-pose.
Or every time you load a save, your body naked. Like, it's insane. It's insane, dude. I remember getting on that game after every little update they drop, hoping like, this is the game we got. This is the game we want. This is it. And it never quite got there until recently.
It took a minute.
Mm-hmm. It took a minute. And what's funny about that, and I'll shut my mouth, but what's funny about that is like, now that I think about it, I had like an overall entertainment like glass shattering moment where like, and Cyberpunk was really at the core of it. Like, I felt like video games and movies had taken a huge dip in terms of quality and loyalty to the fan bases and to the patrons of it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, like, it's weird how much I love that game, but it's still responsible for a lot of what Evan was saying. Like, my expectation on all things in the entertainment space kind of feel like.
Yeah, bro.
Like it was, you know.
That's as real as it gets, man. I think it changed the way that I saw production, like you said, bro. I don't think I'll put a pre-order out on a game with as much ease as before, you know, and I don't care. Sony knows I'm outside. Like, you know, Locke and I, we game share, you know what I mean? Q game shares with our boy T. Like,
yo, why are you exposing?
Yo, why?
It's all good. Like, if you don't know what game sharing is, look it
Isaiah
up.
went
Like,
bad.
I mean, they
What am I
made it.
gonna
They
do?
made it a bit more official on the PS5, so it's
It's
okay.
that's
it's
true,
official
that's
tissue,
official.
bro. You can game share on the P5 while also having it on the P4. I game share with my little brother Javian. He's lit
Now
right
that's
now.
federal right there.
Yeah,
Now
Crazy.
he's exposing
that's-
stuff.
So,
Now
Pete, what I'm trying to say is this. What I'm trying to say is this.
Video, bro.
Facts. I need to make one, right? What I'm trying to say is that the game at the end of the day, like, a game could cost less to me, and I still don't want to throw half the amount toward the game just because I gotta question it a little bit. Like, unless it's very, 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 very verified. You know what I mean? Like for example, Star Wars. I'm gonna buy a Star Wars game no matter what, cause it's Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars, so I'm gonna always play Star Wars. But at the end of the day, like, when you see
That one
something
look
and
a
you're
little
not sure what
finicky.
it is, yeah, you see, we're not talking about that. We'll be back in August. We'll be back in September. We're not talking about Outlaws right now. We'll be back.
Baby.
But all that being said, and you know, I was in that group chat tight at y'all for saying that shit, but it's all good. I'm gonna see y'all on the other end.
Look at the last two Star Wars games they gave us and tell me I'm wrong.
Survivor was gas packed.
We'll stay on topic. Stay on topic.
Anyways, yo, Arrow, as somebody who keeps his finger on the pulse of things, oftentimes I send you trailers and videos and announcements, and I'm like trying to do the same thing Q said I'm good at to you, and you're like, yeah, I seen that, and I'm like, this. Tell me, bro, like, what did you think about the way the world responded to this game in terms of what it means for a game to be released poorly?
I mean, it's changed 3 different areas, I feel. Number one, the way people that make these games interact with the community. Because how many of those squared message posts on Twitter have you seen post this game drop?
A lot. How many squares you got?
Standard.
A lot.
They set a standard up. Good or bad. You know, you can argue if you think it's good that they're communicating like that or bad. But I've seen more of these since this game dropped than ever before in my life. So that's number one. Number two, the people that wanted this game to fail came out the woodwork. I knew this joke was gonna be ass.
I told y'all.
That's why The Last of Us is, Ghost is, Autumn. I'm like, y'all need to relax. But equally, the people that wanted this game to succeed more than anything refused to see what the problem was.
Yeah, they were slobbing knob for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They're the people
insane.
that had the good experience like Evan, but then instead of like Evan sitting here and he's talking about how there was a problem. Nah, they're like, nah, it's still great. It's still great. And to this day, they can't let go of the fact that this game failed at the start.
Yeah.
You got people coming out here saying, yo, this game dropped in 2020. Last of Us, it didn't drop like that, though. It took them 3-4 years. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? This game may as well have a 2023 release date because that's how they wanted to do things. But it's a comeback story. Gaming has had quite a few of those. Rainbow Six, comeback. No Man's Sky, comeback. Yeah. I think even For Honor had a comeback for a little bit. So, I mean, you know, it's just another one of those stories, but one might say this might be the biggest one of all time. I'm not going to sit here and say that because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to go look into all of them and get my own thoughts. But for what I've seen, shout outs to them. I think they took all the heat that they got and they put it into something good. So, yeah.
That's great, man. Good 3 points there. I agree with all 3 of those. I feel those in real time. And, you know, I think now is the part of the conversation where I'm ready to kind of let it go. You know, let you guys fly off in terms of, what you love about this game. You know, we've walked it down, talked about its negatives before its comeback. Let's talk about right now, whether it's Q playing through it at the initial time, Steve finally getting the P5, being able to play it, Willie, stuff you experienced in your first 4 hours.
Yeah. What
do we love about this game? What do you think is amazing about this game? Why is this game such a crazy comeback? Tell me about what you loved in your experience.
I want to go first, just so that then you guys could just go off the deep end. So yeah, I did 4 hours. I didn't even get to, I mean, spoiler, if you're listening, there's, I believe, a heist that ends the first, and I didn't get to the heist. I got to everything, the planning, going into the bar, meeting up with, I think his name was Jackie, and then the military girl that pulls over and she has a dude hostage. Did all that, never got to the heist. You know, I had like 35 minutes left in my trial, and someone was like, it's more, you need more than that. And I didn't want to essentially just get cut halfway. So from those first 4 hours, number one, the customization was pretty cool. Just for me to it all be useless because it's a first person game. And I think that for me is a big fail on this game for how I like to dive into games. I'm a third person lover. I struggle with most first person games. I mean, Borderlands has probably been my greatest success with first person games. Other than that, Dying Light up there. But for a game with that amount of customization, it feels like they went hard on it just for it to be first person. I'm like, that's an immersion that I had, and then you just took away from me. Like,
I heard that.
And then, you know, it was smooth, I guess, the components of the first person, but it also just, the stealth modes sometimes feel a little bit weird to me. The gun shootouts, I could appreciate them, but it's also similar to every other gun shootout. I mean, I'm sure that changes later on in the game with mods and builds, because I know the game is huge on that. So again, I've only experienced the first 4 hours. Could I see myself enjoying it if I continue to play into it in the future? Possibly. I like the vibe of the game, the cyber aesthetic, clear, you know, neon, yellow, green, purple, all of it. But yeah, those first 4 hours, they were just, it was like a cool time that I was in no rush to necessarily hop back into. But I'm interested to see how that changes and evolves throughout the game. I'm interested to see like where the story goes. And I know there's the 3 branches that I'm the guy who will go back and replay it all with all 3. So it's a dangerous game for me also. Right. I'm the guy to follow every path and go and explore everything. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I think just the big drive for me was that first person aspect is like, it can easily put a stop to me. And it's something that I've tried to get over. But like I said, it's weird that 2 for 2 now with some of the greatest of all time, I haven't been able to get behind CD Projekt Red. So
the fact that you acknowledge them as greatest of all time, you know, I respect that despite it not hitting for you. But I also will say, as somebody who came from Witcher 3, and that is a third-person game, and they still created a very immersive world and an immersive protagonist that you've gotten to grow through in 3 games, I really do feel your pain in terms of it not being a third-person game as well. I thought that was an interesting decision, you know. I thought that was an L too. But before I even go, let me pass it on to the more experienced gents. Let's talk. Tell me about it, bro. Tell me what you loved about it. Tell me some moments that were special to you. If you could try to keep it spoiler-free as much as possible, that would be great. But I'm not going to knock you for it, to be honest.
You know, at this point, bro, if you ain't played the game, like,
you're tripping.
It's not the destination, it's the journey. And that's the whole stance behind anything I say in terms of praising this game. I think for me, I had 2 playthroughs, you know, across 3 systems. 2 of those systems being P4s and 1 being a P5. So for me, there was a lot of immersion because I had to get re-immersed because I was trying to complete the game. When I transitioned systems, you know, I lost a bunch of save data or whatever the heck. And that was pretty frustrating for me at a time where in my life I was also like kind of restarting. So it had me immersed in the world in a different way. And I felt really comfortable. I think one of the things that I enjoy about the game is that, like, yes, you have the routes that you get to pick, but there's a narrative and kind of your imagination that you get to pick for yourself.
Yeah.
As you play different missions and decide what type of, you know, main character you're going to be. And I'm somebody that will echo Willie's sentiment about third person. I think coming off of Witcher 3, I was a little bit disappointed that CyberPunk was not first person. And I stand on that just because of the fact that, not that I don't enjoy first person games, I definitely adjusted and came to love the first person as a part of the immersion for me. And got comfortable with how it moves and the different weapons and katanas and mantis blades and the net hacking and all of that wonderful stuff. Like, it the first person really did aid, and I see their vision. But I would say that I always think about how the game would play in third person to this day. Like, it's to me, it would be completely different.
Hundreds of hours in. That's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I
That's funny.
think about it to this day. And I think that's just because I believe they failed at the start. No doubt. But everybody loves a redemption story. And I think in a lot of ways, the redeeming qualities shined through across my playthroughs. And I have loved the time that I spent in that world and exploring the different boroughs of the city and doing different contracts for different like gang leaders or different like movers and shakers in the city, and where those stories go after you break into the story with the one, and then the side quests that pop up, or the fact that you can help the police stop robberies at a moment's notice. Like, the cars have even been upgraded. Like, there's so many other things. And then I won't even get into my Phantom Liberty bag because
got to give the people time.
I think Locke is the only person in this whole chat that has played Phantom Liberty yet.
Yeah,
Q, you didn't play Phantom Liberty yet, right?
I will get around to it, though.
I believe it.
I do want to bring up Phantom Liberty real quick, since Steven is, kind of sending off his thoughts. There was a big question regarding Phantom Liberty and the Game Awards last year, right? And so I want just, your opinion real quick. Do you think that Phantom Liberty, as someone who's played it, was deserving of the shot at winning a Game of the Year award? Or
absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. And that's somebody who loves the game, loves the lore, enjoys everything about the universe that they've created. Absolutely not.
Well, I want you to expound on that, but let's let Q jump off and get his thoughts in, and then we'll come back to this, Willie. I promise we're gonna come back to this because I want to talk about that too.
Well, y'all know what I'm gonna say. I think the world of third-person RPGs is super convoluted.
Why?
And I just think most RPGs that I play tend to be third-person. And I think that it's hard to do a good first-person RPG. But I think they did it.
And this is coming from somebody whose Skyrim is your favorite game.
Exactly. I'm a first-person guy. So whether it's FPS or role-playing games, I can appreciate the first-person effect. And where you guys say that may have taken some of the immersion off of it, I feel like it adds immersion. Because, like, I'm looking through the peepholes. I'm just right there. I got my hands right here. My trigger is doing everything that I want it to. Like, I feel like I could get really immersed in a character like that. And then, I put mods on my character, and I get to use them because I have control over the character. Like, I don't need to see it on my body. I know it's there. So, like, for me, I felt like coming from somebody who did get to play the game right when it came out, during COVID, it was so easy to fall into like the cyberpunk vibe. Like, just like the dystopian society vibe that was going on in the game was super easy to fall into. Especially because I feel like I was just like depressed in my room for like 23 hours of the day, just chilling, playing video games. So I felt like I could, queue up, hop on my character, named him Quincy, as I name all my RPG characters, and I just got to vibe out. And to me, the gameplay was crispy at the time, and it only got better for me with the updates. So like I never really had to experience the craziness, but I could totally see where you guys are coming from, but I do appreciate a good first person RPG. I thought the action was great. Thought the super jump abilities and just the mobility in the game was great. There's nothing wrong about clicking a few buttons and then just like a Lamborghini pulls up behind you and you could hop in and throw on the radio and then just cruise to your next location. It just fits. And like I have every single car, even those, like buying the cars sometimes would turn into a mission. Like, like somebody would be trying to like steal the car while you're trying to get it. I just thought that was so cool. I was like done with the game and I was like, there's still a bunch of little side missions that although appear minuscule, they turn out to be like a much bigger event, and I didn't realize that at the time. Like kind of figuring that out was kind of just like a diamond in the rough. I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I don't think I would have liked it as much as a third person, but I could see where coming from your like the way you like to play games, and I know third person is all your jam. Like why you would like that.
I mean, you must
surprised that they would put that much detail into the customization of the character just to hide it behind.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what it was like in Skyrim too. And I would just click the third person view on my remote, and I get to see my character, and then I just go back. But I didn't feel like I don't know. I'm just not the type that needs to see my character all the time.
I think that they definitely they folded by not having a third person view camera that you could open up at any point. I feel like that should have been something. It would have been so simple.
Your start menu.
Yeah, or now your photo mode, so you can do photo mode. Yeah. Which I don't know about y'all, but I open that shit up accidentally during combat all the time. Does anybody else do that? Oh, okay, cool.
Shots,
yeah, nah, for sure. I'll be like, damn, I'm beating that man's ass.
I love photo modes in games, but that's like I could do a whole episode on that.
I'm sure you do.
Crazy.
I'm sure you do got one with Pan Am, boy.
We ain't got a whole
Willie don't know who Pan Am is? You know who Pan Am is, bro?
Yeah, you know
that's wifey. That's wifey. That's wifey.
But no, what's funny is on PC they actually have that mod, so you can view your character in CyberPunk on PC, like similar to Skyrim.
I'm jealous of them for that, man. I'm jealous of them. I don't know how the clunkiness of that plays. I think I saw a YouTube video of IGN covering that one time, but
it's kind of ugly.
Yeah, bro. I think I understand what you're saying though, Q. Right? Like if we entered the Ready Player One mindset, like when Homeboy loads into the Ready Player One world, I can imagine it's a first person world, not a third person, right? So there's a level of innovation they're pushing for in the way that they decided to stick with the first person, stick with the V being the name of your character, and you can't expand it higher or more than that. You know, you play as a character called V. I very much do think that was an interesting decision on their part. Yeah, I think for me, what I loved about this game so much was, you know, I think I love the concept of the game even more than I've been able to actually be intimate with the game from a time standpoint, like you guys. But I think I've restarted that first 4 hours that Willie played 4 times. I played it once on the P4. And then I played it once again on the P5, and then I had too much life hitting. And then I played, I think, one more time. Maybe it's been 3 times I've restarted it. So on this third try is where I've built these almost 30 hours. And what I love about that first 4 hours is everything that I know the game has to offer, which is the idea of choice is so embedded into every decision that you make in this game in a way that feels very real compared to a GTA 5 or compared to a lot of these other sandbox games. You know, for example, idea to, you know, speak to the shorty under the overpass and she got the hostage, and then come up with a play to hack the money she gave you to then give it to the people you buying the weapon from, and then tell them that the people were coming after them, and then end up being on their side. So a gunfire happens between the Militech and the terrorists or the smugglers, and you it's just these decisions that you can make. And then hearing other people say, oh, I didn't choose to do that. I chose to shoot that guy when I went to that meeting, or I chose to shoot Shorty when I met her. It's cool to hear how everybody's playthrough is different. It reminded me a lot of Red Dead 2 when it came out, and a lot of the random encounters people would have with random strangers on the road in the West. And I love games that do that very well. Now, Red Dead is obviously a third-person game. So then when you put it in a first-person aspect, this decision-making, that's what I think is so wonderful about this game. And it's what I enjoy after 30 minutes of loading up and really getting into the movement of it. I start to find that feel again. And as soon as I find it, I know it's one of a kind. And I think that's what I love about this game so much. We could talk about all the other mechanics like combat that have gotten tighter with every update. Gunplay has gotten tighter with every update. Jumping, you know, being able to mod out my legs so I could jump double as high and fly forward at an enemy with my katana. That's all amazing. Like I'm sure you can do it in other games, but there's a way that it feels in this game, in this environment, in this backdrop that it's one of a kind, bro. There's really nothing else you could say, for me at least, on that. It's one of a kind with the way that it flows and it grows. So that's what I like about it. I love the characters. I love the worlds. I love the fact that it feels almost low-key prophetic in the sense of this is possible for us. This is possible for mankind to eventually approach. You know what I mean? I see the AI stuff happening with Apple or with ChatGPT, and it's like CyberPunk kind of winked at me in 2020 and said, hey, listen, we could head to a dystopian space. Even if it doesn't happen full blown, it can happen in small ways. And a game that can kind of embed itself in your head like that to have you question if you in a brain dance or if this is real life. Like that's dope. That means it must have something effective in it. And that's what I love about this game. I think it's not my favorite mechanics. It's not my favorite game to play. It's not my favorite feel to a game. Gunplay in games like Call of Duty, Bungie games, Halo, all those games, it feels better in those games. But at the end of the day, it's like I do enjoy the world a lot. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the environment. So I can understand how some people say that this is their favorite game or the best game that they've ever played on the other end of the comeback. I very much do understand that. So you've gotten all four of our, opinions on gameplay, but let's jump into the resurgence of this game, the recovery of this game, its rise from the ashes after it had been burnt to hell by the gaming community and itself. Even internally, we had developers come out and say that they were under intense amounts of crunch, and there's no way that this could have ever been delivered the way that they were promising it to people. So it's like outstanding that they would expect that from their development team. One of the things they did to rewrite the narrative of Cyberpunk is they partnered with the studio that's responsible for an anime that we all know. If you is some anime, shout out Q, you know what I mean? Y'all know which studio this is, right? And what they made, right? Y'all know about this? Y'all know about it? What's up? Y'all know about it? What y'all know? Y'all know?
Tell us,
Akira, they teamed up with the same studio that made Akira to create Cyberpunk Edgerunners, an anime in partnership with Netflix to completely immerse people in this world from a different perspective. And this was before they released the DLC pack. This was 2022 and them trying to repackage what it means to be in this environment. 2022 happens. This show comes out. I want to hear from y'all. What did you think about Cyberpunk Edgerunners? Did you like this show? When did you watch it? What did you think in terms of knowing that Cyberpunk had fallen apart and what this does in the grand scheme of that entire universe? Like, what's our thoughts on this, yo? What do we think about Edgerunners?
Straight off the back, Edgerunners was a banger. I remember I was in Jersey City in my apartment. I think it was raining or something, bro. Put that joint up on a projector on the wall. Made my food in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? I had the music going. I was ready, bro. I was in there swimwear. And for anybody that know, if you know 502, you know 502. I was in there catching a vibe. Okay. And the show immediately, I feel like for me, took me from the gaming world and said, all right, we just gonna put it on you on another spin. Like, we know you was in the game getting with it, but let's ground you a little bit. In the game you can do whatever you want, you can get whatever you want. But not to get too deep into the show, but like, I remember there was a point in the show where it was like, yo, this is one upgrade in the game that like in 2 hours I can get a better one. But in this show, it was everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I found that so grounding, and I found that so, again, immersive in this world through another medium. And I thought they hit it out the park.
Yeah, I agree. What about you guys, Willie and Q? Now, this is another perspective that's great to have, right? Because though we all play different capacities of the game, we've all seen this show. I want to hear your thoughts. Talk to me. What else? Talk to me, Q or Willie, whoever.
I mean, you want to go, Q? Okay. So I had no plans on watching this show before we did this episode because I was going to try and maintain that only 4-hour thing. And even then I was going to come into this originally nothing. I was going to do nothing. But made a promise to a friend to watch the show, and so I did it. And I thought the show was, number one, animated brilliantly. I thought it was really beautiful. The soundtrack went crazy. There's one song played in a certain circumstance that I'm not going to talk about specifically, but banger.
Arrow like his music.
Yeah, I mean, and that's all I need to say for other people to know what I'm talking about too. You know what I'm saying? So that
it shows.
We know it's one season and that's it. It's a one and done. And so for me, as someone who hasn't played the game, this was really, I think I watched this before my trial. And so I watched this and I'm like, okay, I'm backwards. I played Telltale The Walking Dead before watching the show. Oh. Telltale Game of Thrones before watching Game of Thrones. I do things backwards, and so this is no different. I feel like the show was like, okay, this makes me more interested in really trying Cyberpunk. Like, the show alone, and I'm not even going to say I loved it to a million, you know what I'm saying? Like, I still think as just story standpoints and character standpoints, there are some things that I was iffy on, but I think it's a brilliant show. Great way to pull people in. It's sad to say I would be willing to drop the $50 for the whole version with everything, even if it means I only play 20 hours of it, because the show has me interested in what I can do in the limits that I can maybe push.
Yeah.
So I've said that I was going to buy this game one day. I will when it's on sale for a good amount and I'm not having a bunch of other games drop. Because, we're moving into that later half of the year where everything's going to be dropping. But I mean, Edgerunners was cool. I'm not going to sit here and say it's my favorite anime or top 3 or top 5. I mean, it's cool for what it is. And it gave me a drive to actually want to play that game more so than any conversation I've ever had before did.
Yeah.
So that's a strength of the show, I think.
Big facts.
Cool. I think it's cool that they did that. I like when people are able to collaborate on something that's not just, make my story again. No, let's do something set in that world. Show me what you think my world looks like. So that was cool.
Yeah. That show did win Anime of the Year. So they didn't just drop a show. They dropped a banger.
They did.
They dropped a banger. And that show, I mean, I love the show. That definitely is in my top 10 in terms of anime and stuff that I would recommend for any new person to watch. I definitely would recommend Edgerunners.
Okay, call back to the 101. I see you, dog.
Yeah. It's a Q-Dot approved. But definitely loved it. I loved the immersion. It's a huge thing for me. But I think mainly the show evoked a ton of emotion from me. And when watching something can bring out I feel like there's a reason, like Steve said, it was raining and he remembers that it was raining and the show was playing, because it matches with that vibe and it gets the dystopian immersion down amazingly, to the point where you feel like you're in it. And you're rooting for the protagonist, but he's got a hard upbringing and all this stuff is coming in there, and you're starting to relate to any part of it that you could relate to because you want to relate to it.
Yeah.
So I just feel like the show's immersion in that aspect is great. That song that I believe Willie is talking about, I put that on and I feel the same feelings as when I watched the show. There's a strong connection there. So I definitely feel like, the show, just any show that's able to do that for me is always considered a banger in my head. And the storytelling is great. The action is great. And the fact that you really get to know all the characters and you have feelings behind them is just really good. I think it's good when a show can connect you to people like that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not that far off. You could see a society like that happening. So I think that's what makes it key. And they dropped some Easter eggs and they put it in the game. They put got to use some of the guns from the Edgerunner show, and you could get his jacket. You could get his jacket
Even though you can't see it on your character. I hear you, Willie. I hear you.
Yes, but you can get it, and you can know your character is dressed like the GOAT. And so I went back and I got on the game after I had already beaten the game when I watched the show. I got back on after. And I got all the cars and I got the new jacket because I was like this. I mean, as far as what they meant to do and why they did it, I think it worked.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. It upped their sales. It upped their sales to 20 million copies. They got 20 million copies.
Made great money off streaming as well because
They
that
did.
show. I'm sure they didn't realize the hit that they had on their hands there, and I compare it to something like what League of Legends did with Arcane. I thought like it was right after, and it was right.
They were in the same year
on the coattails of it, and I loved how it was good that these games that we're playing are making these animes. It's great. I will always appreciate that.
Yeah, both those shows came out as some of the best video game adaptations in history, and they went blow for blow on a lot of award shows to see who would rise to the top. And then some Arcane won, and then others Edgerunners won, and rightly so. Actually, I apologize. They didn't design or make Akira. Studio Trigger did make, though, Kill La Kill, and that was the one that really got them on the map. And that animation style is very signature. You can see that throughout the rest of the show. But all that being said, man, I think that this show was just, I remember watching it, and I got at that time I had a 1-year-old, and it's not something you want on the TV while your 1-year-old's in the room. So I remember trying to watch it amidst her nap times, trying to squeeze as many episodes in as I could, because the story of David, the story of Lucy, it was like, I'm in there. I need to watch every single bit of this. And you're right, man. You feel every piece. You feel every death. You feel every blood drop. You feel every Sandevistan or whatever it's called, jump in time. Like, you feel it all. It's so well done. And that animation style, I saw some developers of the show say that this was the story that they wish they would be able to tell through the video game, especially when it first dropped. But the reality is they weren't able to do so because you can only do so much with a particular medium. And here at Cuzzo-Op, we say this all the time. So, sometimes a different medium is exactly what you need to convey a certain storyline or a certain theme about this type of story. Last of Us did it. Again, Arcane did it. And so I think they very much succeeded in what they were going to do, and as we get to the back end of them rising from the ashes, this comes out in 2022. And then in 2023, they drop Phantom Liberty. They drop the DLC pack. And Arrow asked all of us this question earlier. I really do want to dive into this as one of our final points here for today's conversation. But they won Game of the Year for ongoing Game of the Year, lifestyle type of game against other games like Fortnite, games that have also been very innovative and done astonishing things in that area. Do we think that they deserved to win that? Was their comeback award worthy? What do we think as people who love and have some feels for where they dropped the ball? What do we think?
Well, as someone who played Phantom Liberty, I literally saved out the original ending of the game because I was informed that I need to play Phantom Liberty before the end of the game, the actual end of Cyberpunk 2077, right? So for me, playing through it, when I saw the ongoing Game of the Year award, that it was Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty or whatever, in my brain, I was like, okay, maybe this is them throwing CD Projekt Red a bone in the sense that, okay, the game that you gave us, like the rollout that you gave us behind the updates with the show and the expansive updates and the better improvements to graphics, gameplay, free of charge, y'all balled out. And then when you did the DLC, it was like a little 15 piece, like a little 15 bag, like just, hey, throw me 15. There's 20 more hours, right? For me, it was well worth the price of admission, but I don't feel like Phantom Liberty was the crux of the winning portion. I feel like they used that name because it was attached to the game, of course, and it's DLC. It's an expansive DLC, much like the Shadow of the Earth Tree is like a little mini sequel is what people are telling me, or it's like, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I feel like it was the bone they deserved in the sense of like, this is what we knew you could have gave us when you was hyping us up for 7 years.
Right.
And because you actually balled out and gave us a show, apologized, and made up for it, we're going to throw you this ball.
Right. Right. I agree. I feel like that's how I feel about it. I feel like there isn't a category in the gaming awards for best DLC. There is no best downloadable content category. If there was, this game, Phantom Liberty would have won that with ease, in my opinion.
Right.
But at the end of the day, yeah, I think it's a bone thrown. I feel like, I don't know.
Witcher get game
Fortnite,
of the year?
Fortnite, they gave it ongoing game of the year. They didn't give it game of the year. They gave it ongoing game of the year. And again, I don't remember what the nominees were, but I know one of them was Fortnite.
I've got them. We have Apex Legends, Final Fantasy, whatever the damn number is.
I think it's
Fortnite
15.
and Genshin Impact. And you look at those games and you can tell they are different than what Phantom Liberty is. So I agree. It was you didn't get this in 2020 when the world wanted you to. Here it is now.
Yeah.
But it's a DLC. To me, DLC is not the same as ongoing.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong. People have their opinions, but I just don't.
Yeah.
Right. But for me, if it's from what it sounds, it's a one and done DLC. That doesn't sound ongoing to me. That sounds like here you go and that's it. So, I was upset at the win just because to me, we can just make the argument that DLC should have its own category instead of, because it's the only one there that's so different. So
yeah, I just think it deserved some level of recognition, like you said, Locke, for Willie, earlier you said, is it the greatest gaming comeback of all time? In my lifetime, I've been on this earth for just shy of 30 years. Like, yes, it is the greatest comeback I've ever witnessed in my life in terms of gaming. Because they fell really hard, bro. Like we already painted that picture. That 2020 fall was yucky, bro.
Right.
But for the game to feel the way that it does right now, I get in that game, I have no crashes. I got everything very smooth. It's looking very crispy. I can only imagine what people on PC are able to experience.
If you look down, you can see
sometimes you see your fit. You see they switched the way that they went into the Edgerunners bag and they did it so that now you can get cyber psychosis if you add too many things to your body. They've listened to the community and created new dynamics to the game. So when you think about those living, breathing updates, those are akin to ongoing in nature. But if you look at all the other nominations, multiplayer is an aspect of all of those other games. Right. And I think that should be one of the major things for the ongoing category. So it's I don't think they should have won that award, but the fact that they won awards at all makes me very happy in my heart because I got to witness such an incredible comeback for real.
We went back and forth over should we really be clapping because they fixed their game? That was something we went back and forth on.
Right.
Are we really giving them kudos for taking 3 years to do what they should have had done originally?
Yeah.
So to me, it's a back and forth. It's a conversation that I don't think will never ever end. I don't think it will ever necessarily end. It's congrats, but at the same time, why am I congratulating you for?
It's a pat on the back.
Yeah.
So I just hope it doesn't, like we've seen this game already do, set a new standard of weird shit.
I don't know. I maybe I'm an optimist, but I don't think so. I think that they set the tone on what never to do ever again. And I think, like you said, it changed our hearts as a gaming community on how we'll respond to these big promises. A lot of you guys said it about Star Wars Outlaws, right? Like Ubisoft is walking on thin ice. They're walking on thin ice now because of what happened with CD Projekt Red. Naughty Dog, they're walking on thin ice because of what happened with CD Projekt Red. Microsoft and Sony, they're aware of the fact that the gaming industry has shifted ever since 2020. And I think CyberPunk plays a really big role in that. And so this is where I think it's time to land this hover ship real quick and get your thoughts on this. There's already something out there called Project Orion coming from CD Projekt Red. And a lot of people are hearing whispers, seeing little things from their developer showcases, their videos they put on YouTube, that there's a sequel coming to Cyberpunk 2077. And in light of what we're saying with apprehension, I want to hear what you think about that. What are your desires for the future of this world in Cyberpunk 2077? What do you want to see? Where do you think CD Projekt Red should take this? As our final point today, this afternoon.
I would definitely say don't do the most, but improve upon what you've already done and show us some more. You created a universe that, like we discussed, is accessible through different mediums. You showed us that. You showed us you're capable of executing that. And your source material is expansive as hell. If you go back to the source material and you go back to the style of tabletop games and what that even spawns from, you can really take this a lot of different places. And so if anybody ever hears that, I think a sequel from CD Projekt Red would be amazing. Their previous failure does not deter me in any way from being excited about the idea of a sequel. Just literally lift off from your last date. I beg of thee. Improve upon your last update, make that the standard, and then break the roof. Within reason, though. Don't do the most, but give us some more.
Yeah. I'm going to let this be the last thing I say regarding everything. This will be the last time you hear from me for this episode, right? I think, we know their next game is Witcher 4.
Witcher 4,
and they're saying it's their most advanced project ever. And then whatever this is.
And they promised a trilogy for Witcher, so there's a 5 and a 6 coming out as well at some point.
I think on the PlayStation 4 generation and the tail end of the PS3, Naughty Dog showed video game companies how to handle two franchises at once, in the sense of learn from both. You take what you get from Witcher and you bring that over. And then you take what you got over here and you go over here.
Good take.
So don't jump over Witcher 4 and just look at Cyberpunk when you're making Cyberpunk 2. Put your heart into Witcher 4. And then see what you can learn from your development process there. And then bring that over to Cyberpunk. Because it only just means that you're going to be going higher and higher. So
talk to them.
Climb
that's
with
what
both
I have
hands.
to say.
That's good.
And
I like that.
hopefully by the time that one drops, maybe I would have played Cyberpunk. I don't know about Witcher. We'll see about Witcher. 20 hours.
Plus hours.
But we gonna see. We gonna see.
Good take, Arrow. Good take.
Great take.
What about you, Q?
I don't know. I don't know if I have anything worthwhile to say on this. I don't know if I want a sequel.
Wow. That's pretty worthwhile in my opinion.
I mean, I just don't know if I want one. I feel like we know they can make a good game, right? And I think good RPGs are few and far between, other than like God of Wars and like the big franchises that are ongoing. Like I would like to see something new. I mean, I think you're ready. Not that you haven't capitalized on it enough. Like I'm not saying it would be the smartest decision not to capitalize on maybe some Cyberpunk, something like that. But you have two really good mediums, like in the Witcher franchise and Cyberpunk. Like you have a pretty good blueprint for how to make a decent RPG game. Like I would just, put it towards another franchise. But that's just me. I just want to see more good games like that coming out. Obviously quality issues and all that needs to be addressed, but if you could drop another solid RPG, I'd rather that, I think, over a sequel to Cyberpunks. And I think partially that is because I'm happy with the medium that's out there already. I love the show. I love the game. I still have more to play. I still have the DLC to play. So as of right now, I'm not left hungry for another Cyberpunk game. And I haven't even played the DLC yet, so I'm not hungry enough for even that to really go cop it and download it right now.
Heard.
So
okay. I like that.
That's fair.
I'm actually gonna let this be the last thing I say. Rumors also state that they're working on a remake to something called The Watcher. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's something to look into or not. But
Watcher is
that's
like a really
that's
old game, I think.
so that I don't know, but yeah, I like that a lot. Not everything needs a sequel. I'm a firm believer in that, and so maybe when I
Star
play
Wars.
this, I'll beat it. So
Tripping.
we gonna see.
Cute
Hey,
tripping.
listen,
He said that to be
man.
inflammatory.
Sequel trilogy, I can understand what you're talking about a little bit there, but nah, you wildin' at the same time. Yeah, I think I respect what you're saying, Q, 100%. You're right. If it ain't broke, don't break it. You have the chance of breaking it if you try to keep going. But at the same time, you know, I haven't played enough of the story to know if I'm okay with there being a sequel. Maybe Locke could speak to this more. Maybe you could speak to that more. If you feel like the story ends there and you've squeezed every last drop of that environment out and there isn't another tale to be told within the cyberpunk world, then I can respect that. I can't speak to that. But one thing I can speak to is give me multiplayer. I want cooperative gameplay in this world, 100%. I want to pull up on dudes with my boys, and I want to hop out the whip and slash dudes with my katana. I want to run heists with the gang. I want intertwined storytelling. I want your decision to impact my decision and me having to figure out what I'm going to do in light of that. And I don't want it to be no GTA menu-based decisions where it's like we all decided this and that, and then we're playing a mission based on those. I want to feel it in real time. I want them to push themselves in that regard. And I think what Arrow said makes lots of sense. You can do that by exploring that type of that muscle and software within something like Witcher. I'm not saying you can get cooperative, but what does it look like to make more dynamic decisions? I look at stuff like Warner Brothers and how they created the Nemesis system for a game like Shadow of Mordor, where it's like you can fight an enemy and that enemy has a grudge toward you. So you see that enemy again in the game and they have a specific way they come up on you. It would be cool if Steven had beef with one gang and I'm in the whip with Steve and now that gang is shooting at me. Like they can do a lot. They could really keep pushing and innovating. I think CD Projekt Red.
BioWare bag.
Yeah, they owe it to themselves to keep innovating. Don't play it safe now. It's too late. What's the point? You know, that would be my advice for whatever comes later from them. I want them to keep on to keep being innovators in this space. But yeah, man, this is us talking through Cyberpunk 2077 in the way that it had gaming in a headlock for over a decade. This was a conversation that people were talking about. We're coming up on 11 years that this game has existed. And it's funny because a lot of games are like this and people don't know. The first gameplay of Fortnite when it was just a tower defense game was in 2011. I remember being a sophomore in high school and seeing gameplay and showing Steven it. So it's like, it's cool to see these things develop and then be able to have conversations about how it rose and it fell. Glad I got to experience this as a gamer. And I'm glad that you two could join us for a conversation on it, man. It's always great to have you guys on the show.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Always love coming on here, talking caca with the boys.
Caca. Hopefully it's not the last time we see you this year. There's some other things coming out. You know, this week is X-Men week, like mentioned earlier. So tune in this Friday. We've got a double drop as we talk X-Men movies and we talk X-Men 97, all in preparation for Deadpool and Wolverine, which is coming out. On top of that, Comic-Con's this week, and Marvel has got some whispers coming around. You know what I mean? DC has some things they probably gonna show us that's probably already out at this point. So, you know, I'm excited to see what happens in that, and we'll be talking about it here at Cuzzo-Op. So stay tuned into us, stay subscribed, speak with us, talk to us down in the YouTube comments, give us your thoughts on Cyberpunk. And we'd love to hear what you think about that if you're a gamer. And, you know, maybe we'll get a TV or a movie for this, a TV show or a movie for this as well. That'd be kind of wild, like a live action. That'd be kind of stupid too. Imagine. Don't matter, bro. We'll be there. We'll be there for it. It don't whatever. It's Cuzzo-Op, baby. You know, every time you tap in with an episode of us, you're always going to find three things, and that's two cousins, one podcast, and endless entertainment. Deuces, Tunes.
Peace.